And I think this brings up, and we've talked before this brings up the idea of also expectations within healing. And you made a good case. And I appreciate this, that sometimes you hear testimonials from people, you see people that have gotten past it, go on to give big talks and everything about overcoming. And it seems that, all right, you started here, you went through treatment, you got better. Wow, that's amazing. When normally that's not the case. You know, it's like you went through treatment and that was, again, putting some of the Jenga pieces back and others. Now there's a lot more to still be done on your own as you start to self-manage and get yourself back. Can you talk about that? Because I know you went through treatment at a clinic. Yep. You're still going through the healing process. You're not at the other end in a sense. And who knows how long that could take. That could be, you know, sometimes years. Sometimes people don't heal actually. But what's that been like? And talk a little bit about how you were setting your expectations before even coming in or during this whole process.
Yeah. Well, I think to start, again, it's tough because you have an expectation, I think, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's not even wrong, really, that treatment gets you better. That's the way we all think. It's like when I'm sick, sometimes I can just rest and eventually I'll be better. Maybe I need medication, like if I'm, got certain types of illnesses, I need antibiotics or something like that, and that will speed my recovery. But it's like, okay, however long that may be, a couple days, maybe it's a couple weeks, but I'll get better and then I'm good to go. And I've got this one medication or whatever it is. And chronic illness is just such a different beast. And it's really hard to wrap your head around that when every illness you've ever had before that doesn't operate the same way, right? Mm-hmm. It does operate in this, we treat the illness, your immune system fights it off and you're good to go, right? And then you're fine. Chronic illness, and you'll go into treatments too, I guess with this expectation, and I have it every single time. I think I still have it where it's like, okay, this is going to be the thing that really moves the needle. And it doesn't really work that way. Things do move the needle, but they move it pretty slowly. Mm-hmm. And the speed can vary. It's sometimes it feels like it doesn't do anything, and that can be really frustrating. It doesn't mean that it didn't, though. So I think there's a couple things to keep in mind for people that are doing on this journey. One is that, like you said, this might take years, and you just have to mentally get yourself there. Like, don't give up, right? Like it might take a long time. And it's also a journey even after that. It's just like anything else, like being healthy. Like you just have to work on it forever, right? And so you're still going to have some days where even perfectly healthy people have days where they just don't feel great, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of look at it as, I tell you what, one thing that really helped me was you guys have some really great testimonials on your website from, Ben Aarons, and Heather, and those are very inspiring. And I think things like that have always inspired me to be like, okay, I'm going to try this treatment because, I don't, unless it's some big scam, I don't think these people were paid to do this. I believe them, right? And you sort of, people that are chronically ill, like they want to get better, yes. And they're not going to like make it up that it didn't work for them. But, so they like the edited versions of those videos that you guys have, it's like this great success story. But what really helped me was watching the long versions and then reading the entire transcript to be like, oh, it took her 2 years to get there. Yep. It wasn't like a couple of months. It was 2 years post-treatment, right? And there was a big mental component to it. That was the other thing where she was like, I was kind of teetering on mostly better, but not all the way. And I had to make a decision that like, I am healthy, right? And that piece of it, again, is so within our own control every day. Like, so regardless of where you are in the journey, if you can commit to optimism, intent, like just belief that not only you're going to get better, but you are better. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, people spend such a long time sick that it's become part of their identity.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I am a sick person. And at some point, you have to, even if you still feel that way, I hate using the word identify because I just think some of the stuff these days is nonsense around this, but you can't identify as a sick person anymore.
Yes.
You just can't. Like you have to like finally be like, you know what? I'm, and I don't know when this is for anybody, but at some point before you feel 100%, you have to decide that you are fine at that point. Like I don't need any more supplements. I don't need any more treatment. Because if every day you still think you are relying upon those things, you will never finally get there. Right. And that's so critical. And I was back at your center this last week getting a couple kind of treatments that were cool. They were interesting. And I think they were helpful too. And the woman who was next to me, she brought up a really good point because it's hard to track your progress on a day-to-day basis because sometimes you don't feel this different day after day, or you might feel worse. And she was like, I really look at it in like 1 month chunks of like, do I feel better generally this month than I did last month? And I thought that was such a great insight. Mm-hmm. And I even think what would be very helpful for people, I was actually just thinking about this morning, is make a spreadsheet, like an Excel spreadsheet. And every day, if you're in this journey, from 1 to 10, give yourself a number at the end of the day of how you felt that day, right? 1 being absolute worst, bedridden, can't move. 10 is like over the moon, elated, everything's great. And that's it. Just give yourself a number every day. And then like, don't look at the day-to-day progress, right? But over the course of a year, see what the trend looks like, right? You can chart that. And then you can average it too. Be like, what was the average of this month versus this month, or this quarter? Like over these 3 months, what was my average number versus these 3 months? Because I think that's where you see the progress. You go from a 4 to a 5 or 5.5. And that's progress. And it's tough. It's frustrating because you're like, you want to get there a lot faster, but you have to celebrate that and be like, you know what? I actually do feel better by and large, right? And then I think that in turn helps on the days where you still like things will still go downhill for you on certain days for whatever reason. They shouldn't emotionally or mentally, psychologically hit you as hard because you're like, okay, cool. It's like, remember, I'm trending up here. Yeah. The dip isn't as big of a deal, It's
interesting because a lot of times I see people have short memories on the healing process, but long memories on like the trauma and like the bad things, right? Yeah, so you could literally ask someone when they start treatment, like, give me a number, like you said, and then you could ask them in 12 weeks and it'll be a bigger number, but they may have more problems that they're bringing up now and saying it's not working, right? So they're literally saying, I have improved, but it's this, and this now that I'm feeling, which of course that's part of the healing journey is you're always going to have some of those pieces that you're addressing and peeling back the layers of the onion. However, I completely agree with you that if you're not tracking this on a daily basis, even like week, whatever it may be, tracking it, and you're not taking a macrocosmic view, you're literally looking from one day to the other. I got worse. I'm out. I'm tapping out now. That is not the right approach to this sort of healing. Yep. Unfortunately, too many people have been given this idea that medicine happens normally quite quickly. You have a problem, we give you a pill, you feel better within 20, not even 24 hours sometimes. Or we'll cut it out, and then in a few weeks, you'll feel like a different person after you heal up from that surgery. We'll just remove what we believe is the problem, right? When it's only a part of a problem and a symptom, really. So it gives people those weird expectations sometimes, not even weird, I should say, just not proper to what the healing process of your body is, and it makes it difficult. But it is one of those things that you want to be trending upwards. You want to be looking at it, and you don't want those like parabolic ones, like stock prices that go like parabolic up. What do? They usually crash right back down after that high, and that's not what you want. You want to be trending upwards over the years.